We've got Kevin McGuffey on the line from Last Word on College Football to discuss the Cats. Kevin, how you doing today? I always pick Kentucky to beat Florida. Kevin, do we have you?
Can you hear?
There you are. How
Hold
you
on.
doing?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We've got you.
Okay, sorry. I was like, I just saw this quote pop up, and I'm like, okay, what have I just missed? Because I was doing some other things and getting ready to hop on with you, and it says, "Don't wipe the people off the face of the planet." I'm like, okay, what's Mark said now? What's he done? So anyway,
that's typically my style, Kevin, wiping people off the face of the planet. But I appreciate that. If I appear to be condescending, I apologize. I don't want to be that. I just want to be accurate. I just want to be accurate.
I totally understand. And you know what? As the Kentucky guy, I don't pick Kentucky to beat Florida, 8 times out of 10. I did 2019, I did pick them, and maybe 2017. But no, other than that, no. But I might do it this year. So.
Oh, I might as well. Where's the game being played this year?
It's up here. It's in Lexington this year.
Okay.
All right. Kentucky will be trying to beat Florida at home for the first time since 1986, which showing my age. I was a junior in high school when the last time that happened. So there you go.
That is one of the ridiculous streaks in college football that, of course, ended in terms of the entire series after a 31-game losing streak. Yep. They did get the win in Gainesville a couple of years ago. And
one of the most surprising wins ever, because literally I think no one gave Kentucky a chance, and they just went in. Terry Wilson and his first SEC game. You go in and you win at Florida, so nowhere to go but down, I guess you could say, after that. But yeah, I mean, as you said, it's one of the craziest streaks. You think about it, Kentucky had 2 of those. It went 26 straight years losing to Tennessee before finally beating them in 2011, and now Kentucky's won twice in the last 4 years. So that obviously is some progress. Now we just have to work on that Florida streak. So.
Yeah, so that was the 2018 team that went to Gainesville, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That was the team that finished in the top 10 in the country, went 10-3.
Yep.
10 and then it was the team. Then it was the team the next year that had a nice lead against Florida at home. The game, Felipe Franks was hurt, and Kyle Trask came in and led the comeback.
Yep, and that's if you go back through the history, I wrote actually one of the more I think popular posts I ever did for Last Word on College Football. I did, and as a Kentucky fan, it was agonizing. I did a countdown of like Kentucky's 5 worst losses to Florida, and you think about it, since Mark Stoops has been there, you could probably put 3 of those in there, because you have the 2014 game, the triple overtime game, where Florida got an extra play on a missed delay game, and then they scored, and then won in the next overtime. And then 2015, 2017, Kentucky had chances to win and just couldn't pull it out. And as you said, 2 years ago, we just call it the Kyle Trask game now, and where he came off the bench after Franks got hurt, and just and that's another thing that's happened to Kentucky over the years is they have always had this amazing talent of making a backup quarterback look like Tom Brady.
All right, got Kevin McGuffey on the line from Last Word on College Football, so check out his work. And you guys that watch me on a regular basis know that we get a ton of contribution from the Last Word on College Football guys. Jason Ray and I have been doing an Oklahoma segment every Friday that we actually moved to a live stream that's been pretty successful for the last few weeks. So it's great to have Jason here. And of course, Tony Siragusa, especially anytime I get into Pac-12 deep waters on some situation out there where they're switching commissioners or whatever they're doing, Tony's got the lay of the land on the Pac-12 like nobody. He's got that locked down.
And if you look at the site right now, I mean, Tony, I'm not saying this because he's my boss, but I mean, he's really just been killing it with content. I mean, he was all over all over the Pac-12 new commissioner, and a lot of great stuff about the Pac-12 and with UCLA. As you said, Jason does a great job covering Oklahoma. He always comes up with these new ways, I think, of or fun ways of talking about one of the historically best programs in the country. And then I think obviously this year is going to be another big year for them as well. And I think Kentucky's going to have a big year this year. So we at least have that in common. So.
Yeah, it could be a great year for the Cats. Not so much a great run here on the recruiting trail regarding the top target, Gavin Winsett. So we're talking about the third-rated dual-threat quarterback in the country. Like, this kid can play. He's right there in Owensboro, Kentucky. So he is not chosen to go to Alabama, Tennessee, some of the candidates that you would figure in that part of the country, and also the big players based on that usually get the top 10 players at all the positions. Gavin Winsett has chosen, and it's not National Signing Day yet. He may change his mind, but right now the commitment is to Rutgers.
Yep. I came on here and I said I thought eventually that he would choose Kentucky. I really thought this process would drag on a while, get some time to meet the new quarterback, the new offensive coordinator, Liam Cohen, kind of see how things go, because, Kentucky's promising the more wide open kind of a pro style offense this year. And I thought given some time that he would, Kentucky, Vince Marrow, Cohen might be able to work their magic. But so far, it didn't happen. And he went on and he chose Rutgers. And honestly, that's what most people expected. But as you said, anything can happen in recruiting, and it's a long time between now and next September. I'm not saying Kentucky's going to flip him, but if you look at the recruiting, what Rutgers has done. I mean, they're up in like the top 10. The last I saw, there were like 6th or 7th or something. So like I said, I never understood what it was with Rutgers, but that was always being, that was always considered his leader. So, like I said, you can't win them all, but if you look at Kentucky, they're doing pretty dang well so far in 2022, even missing out on Wimsatt. Right now, they're, I think, 9th. Their recruiting class is 9th by Rivals and 11th by 247 Sports. And a lot of people around the program think this is going to be Stoops' best recruiting class ever when it's all said and done, assuming they hold on to all these guys. The 2014 class was really something big, the 2016 class, and they think that's going to be something pretty similar. So they, like I said, losing on Wimsatt is tough, because Kentucky, you and I have talked about this before, over the last few years, Kentucky has done a really good job of keeping the best players in the state going to Kentucky. And so, yeah, this one hurts, especially, a quarterback of that caliber. As we know, Kentucky hasn't had the best luck for whatever reason with quarterbacks, recruiting wise the last few years. But, they'll get guys and then they end up leaving. Then you go back to Patrick Tolles, Drew Barker, all these guys who were highly touted that came in and then ended up going somewhere else. But like I said, but they have, just kind of changing topics, that's still going to be the biggest thing for Kentucky going into the fall is the quarterback situation. Basically, you got three guys. You've got Joey Gatewood, you've got Bo Allen, and you've got Will Levis, who just transferred from Penn State, and he's on campus now. And there's a lot of people that think that when they kick it off on September 4th, that Levis will be the starter. But there's a lot of time between now and then, and a lot of work. And as we know, as longtime Kentucky fans know, anything is possible. Anything can happen. You look at 2 years ago, Terry Wilson gets hurt, Sawyer Smith gets hurt. They had to put Lynn Bowden, who was a high school quarterback, put him at quarterback, and basically Bowden left, Bowden right, Bowden up the middle, and occasionally throw the ball. And it worked for that season. It was just amazing that everybody knew what Kentucky was going to do, and they still couldn't for the most part, defenses still couldn't stop them.
Yeah, it was fascinating to watch. There's no question about that, especially in that bowl game where he just took it over and just had some remarkable statistical lines earlier in the season as well.
Yep.
And a guy that I believe still led the team in receiving, even though he didn't
Yes.
play receiver after about the fourth week.
Right. Yeah. I think he had like 30 catches in 4 or 5 games. And then, yeah, even after those last 8 games, he still led by like, I think maybe even 10 receptions, maybe over Josh Ali or somebody. I can't remember who the second place guy was, but yeah, it was just, and he won the Paul Hornung Award that year for the most, versatile player in college football. And it was totally deserved. So, but yeah, the last time you and I we talked about the quarterbacks, and that's still going to be, the thing because we didn't get to see any really a spring practice. They didn't have a spring football game. They had a scrimmage where I guess they invited some. They found out later they invited like some boosters or higher paying, fans to come in and watch it. Just a very, very small group. So you just basically had to rely on what the coaches told you what was going on. So now we got to wait till August and July, and then hopefully actually get to see some of these guys out on the field practicing.
Based on Joey Gatewood's status as a high school player and all the fanfare that he received going to Auburn, and based on what I've seen of Will Levis, which isn't, I'm not making a negative spin on that. I just thought that Joey Gatewood was going to be the guy, and he may well turn out to be the guy, but I didn't expect the battle to go this deep. And if anything, I think the amount of playing time that Gatewood received sporadically and that Will Levis received is roughly the same, but I would guess that Levis actually played some more meaningful reps. There were some times that Sean Clifford was knocked out of the game, that Will Levis had to step in against some quality opponents, Ohio State being one of them 2 years ago. And then also just because of what he brought to the offense, they would stick him in there for his running ability as a changeup a number of times as not necessarily the starter faltering, but it was just a strategy and predetermined that he would get certain series during the games.
Right. Yeah. No, you're exactly right. And honestly, this is just my opinion. I think if Eddie Gran was still here as Kentucky's offensive coordinator, he always seemed to migrate towards those dual threat guys. I think if he was still here, I think Gatewood would be the starter, no question. But he's gone. He was relieved of duties after this past season. And like I said, I think the more, but I mean, Levis is obviously a dual threat quarterback too. So, there's some that think the pro style offense favors Bo Allen. So, like I said, it's going to be very interesting. I think you can see those first couple of games, especially that first game, the Louisiana Monroe game. I could see, all three quarterbacks playing. And then, it may be one of those, you just kind of play it out as it goes. And it could be one of those things, as you just talked about with Levis, you might have, okay, like for these 4 series of downs, Gatewood's going to play. This series of downs, Allen's going to play. And then maybe you just stick with who the hot hand is. I know a lot of people don't like that. It's like, okay, pick a guy and you stick with him. So, like I said, it's an all new thing with Cohen and his offense. And we haven't, if you've watched the LA Rams, you know what you're kind of getting. That it's they're not going to totally forget about the run game. Cohen has said that Chris Rodriguez is going to get at least 25 touches a game, whether that's rushes, maybe some passing out of the backfield. And I look for them also to really, really focus on the tight ends too, which has been a major source of frustration with Kentucky fans over the years. You'd have C.J. Conrad, who would have one game where he catches 3 touchdowns and then he doesn't catch a pass for the next 5 games. But in Justin Rigg and Keaton Upshaw, you got 2 really good tight ends. And you got to talk about the wide receivers. Wan'Dale Robinson transferring in from Nebraska, coming back home. And then we talked about Josh Ali. He took advantage of the NCAA giving an extra year for players. He's a senior, but everybody got the chance to come back and play another year, and he took advantage of it. And I think I don't think Kentucky's not going to abandon the running game, but I think you're going to see, a lot of downfield passing, and which, Kentucky's been successful with this style of play, but it's not very fan friendly. you know, running, Chris Rodriguez or whoever, Benny Snell running for 150 yards, and then you throw for like 20 yards. I mean, obviously the main objective is to win the game, but from a fan perspective, it's like, okay, they want a little more excitement, but do you take the wins or you take the excitement? So
we'll deliver for everyone a little off the field excitement. So everybody seems to be picking on Michigan football these days. I don't think they need anybody else piling on, but Vince Marrow, the associate head coach, he took his shot at the Michigan program to a certain extent. Explain the context of the comments that Coach Marrow made.
Okay, so here's for the context, everyone. Here's what happened. Steve Clinkscale, who has been Kentucky's defensive backs coach for the last 3-4 years, and has done an incredible job. You think about what Kentucky's defensive backs have done. They've had 6 guys drafted over the last few years. You think about Mike Edwards, just won a Super Bowl down there with Tampa Bay, played a lot of significant minutes. Lonnie Johnson down in Houston, and now Kelvin Joseph comes in, plays one season or most of one season, and then gets drafted in the second round by Dallas. Anyway, so Coach Clinkscale also has been Kentucky's biggest recruiter in the state of Michigan. You look at Justin Rogers, Marquand McCall. Kentucky has been going into Michigan and getting a lot of these top players, and obviously the Michigan folks don't like it. So Michigan State had offered him a position, and he turned him down. And then Michigan had offered him a job, and so he left Kentucky, took that job. He's going to be their defensive backs coach and passing game coordinator, and then a chance to become co-defensive coordinator. So from a Kentucky standpoint, that's a loss, because 2 places where Clinkscale was the heavy recruiter was Michigan, and now we're making inroads in Tennessee. If you look at Kentucky's commitments to the Wade twins just outside of Nashville, those were Coach Clinkscale prospects. Anyway, so getting back to the point, sorry, I'm just setting us up. So appearing on Kentucky Sports Radio, with Matt Jones, Vince Marrow was on there, and he was asked about it, and his I had to pull it up here. His exact quote was, he said, where is it? So first of all, nothing against Coach Klink. I love him. He's going to Michigan. That's fine. But come on, I think we're a better program than them right now. Not I think. He says, I know we are. So, and then that obviously did not sit well with Michigan fans. And of course, historically, Kentucky is nowhere near the status of Michigan. But if you go and look it up, like just take it over the last 5 years, Kentucky's been to 5 straight bowl games, won the last 3. Kentucky since 2018 is 23-14 and 3-0 bowl games. Michigan's 21-11 with an 0-2 bowl record. So and right now, honestly, Kentucky is right there in the middle of the SEC, and I think Wolverine fans. I know you have a lot of Wolverine folks. They won't like it, but I think Michigan's kind of like in the middle of the pack right now in the Big Ten. And then just to pile on just one more thing, CBS Sports, just put out their list of the ranking of the head coaches, and Stoops was at 22 and Jim Harbaugh was at 23. So they had Stoops ahead of Harbaugh. So, and of course, one of the things I do for Last Word, I do a bowl projections thing, and you have to do it whether it works out or not. I can guarantee you right now that first bowl projection, I'm going to have Michigan and Kentucky playing in some bowl game. I don't know which one it's going to be yet, but that is definitely going to happen, and I think people would love to see it. You go back a couple of years ago. When Kentucky ended up going to the Citrus Bowl, they were being looked at heavily. I think it was for the Peach Bowl, and they could have potentially played Michigan there, because I think if you go back and look, the 2 schools only played once, I think, and it was like in the 1920s, and Michigan won like 70-3 or something. But anyway, it was just a comment, and Coach Marrow was just, hated to see, Coach Clinkscale go because he has done a remarkable job here. But yeah, he got that little dig in at Michigan, and everybody, and you could just see it on Twitter, just like, you know, pointing out all these stats. Michigan's won blah 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 games, Kentucky's, Michigan's done all this and done all that, and then of course somebody had to say, and pardon me, folks, I'm not trying to be, that Kentucky and Michigan have beaten Ohio State the same number of times, the last few years, even though obviously Kentucky hasn't played Ohio State, but anyway, but you know how Twitter is. It became a big thing for a while, and everybody, the Michigan fans were upset, and the Kentucky fans just all kind of laughed about it. But yeah, it was just it was just a funny comment. And if you know Vince Marrow, that's just the way that's just the way he is. And if Marrow has been offered jobs by a lot of schools, and so far he's turned them all down. And he would be a huge, he's kind of that one guy that I think Stoops. They need to do everything they can to hold on to him, and so far they have, because he has been the guy as far as recruiting. A lot of these players that you're seeing now is just a lot of Romero. But anyway, like I said, Coach Clinkscale had been hitting Michigan hard and going in and taking those players, and so they're like, well, let's just see if we can get him here. And so he took a job with Michigan. So that's how that all came about. So it's kind of a funny. Kind of a funny thing, because you don't usually think Kentucky, Michigan in the same circles with football. So,
yeah, like you say, there's no comparison between the all-time records and tradition. There's really not even a great comparison in the last 10 or 15 years. Michigan's been capable. They've underachieved. But if you look at what's happened, as you pointed out, in the last 3 to 4 years, Michigan still has a decided advantage, but where is it trending? And if you want to put where both of the programs stand and how they're doing right now, where you've got one coach who's looked at, meaning Kentucky, Mark Stoops, as a guy that's built a program and is trending in the right direction, versus a coach that's on the hot seat. And if he doesn't come through with whatever the magic number is, or the magic number of wins, or against which opponents, Ohio State winning the Big Ten, whatever's in the mind of A.D. Ward Manuel there's just there's a whole different context and vibe to each program. And Michigan's is negative and Kentucky's is positive. So that evens out the statistical rundown.
Yeah, no, like I said, it was just a funny, just a funny in the moment comment that got everybody stirred up. And like I said, historically, there's no comparison. But as you said, over the last 3 or 4 years, as you said, Kentucky's been a program that's been steadily declining, and nationally, they're, as you said, as you pointed out, and many others, Michigan seems to be on a bit of a decline, to where I think Harbaugh probably needs to have, my opinion, probably a 9 or 10 win season and a major bowl game this year, or I don't know if they'll fire him, but he definitely, the seat will be a whole lot hotter, that's for sure.
Kevin McGuffey on the line with us from Last Word on College Football to break down Kentucky, with a quarterback battle looming that will pick up, of course, the first week of August. And unfortunately for Cats fans, a major recruit who got away, at least for the time being. The commitment made to Rutgers, of all places, for Gavin Winsett, one of the top quarterbacks in the nation. Yeah. All right, Kevin, anything else we need to run down?
No, not really. I agree with your commenter here, though. I think Kentucky is definitely, definitely a dark horse. I think Georgia will probably reclaim the SEC East this year, but I think Kentucky and Florida are going to be right there, and it could come down to that game. I think it's a little later this year. Like, for the last few years, Kentucky and Florida have always played in like the second week of the season, which for Kentucky fans drives everybody crazy, because in the old days, now you could say this is when Kentucky was beating Florida, they used to always play in November. Like Florida would have to come up here in November and play, and that's when Kentucky was, doing a little bit better against them. But like I said, and then I think Missouri is going to be right there too. Maybe, I haven't even thought about projections for the SEC, but I'd probably have Georgia, then Kentucky, Florida, Kentucky, and then Missouri, and then Tennessee, South Carolina, Vandy maybe in the East. But yeah, like I said, we're just like I said, I just did a recap. I did a recap of the draft, and then I had a post looking at next year's draft. Kentucky had 6 players taken this year, is the most in modern draft history, the most since 1979. And depending on how things fall out, you could have as many as 10, possibly 10 guys taken next year. And a lot of that has to do with Wan'Dale Robinson and Chris Rodriguez, whether or not they, decide to come back to school, or if they, if they have the kind of years that people are thinking, they both could definitely put their names in the draft, as Lynn Bowden did after his junior year. But yeah, we're just, there's a lot of excitement. I think, they just announced today that they're going to have, as many of the schools are doing now, Kentucky will have full attendance at Kroger Field. So, last year it was limited to 12,000, I think it was. And so, Kroger Field holds 61. So that'll be a huge thing. Kentucky has a great home schedule this year because they've got Florida, they've got Tennessee, they have LSU, Missouri, a lot of good games this year. I think it's a really good. I think the schedule sets up really well for them. That the potential is there to have a year like 2018. Now it's just a matter of going out on the field and doing it. So, but yeah, I think I think we've covered everything. So.
All right, everyone, check out Kevin's work and everybody else there at Last Word on College Football. Kevin, we always appreciate you stopping by, breaking down the Cats for us.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on again. I appreciate it and look forward to doing it again soon.